The self you defend keeps you from yourself. That is the paradox at the center of your life, the knot you tighten each time you insist on being a certain someone, wearing a certain face, presenting a certain story to the world. You hold the pose as if the cosmos were a courtroom, and you the defendant, pleading, explaining, polishing, never noticing that the judge is you, the jury is you, and the accused is only a mask, painted in yesterday's fears and tomorrow's plans. You tighten your grip around this mask and call it me, as if a glove could decree itself a hand. But the more you defend this glove, the more numb the hand becomes. Notice how quickly the mind flinches when criticized, how swiftly the body braces when misunderstood, how the voice rises to clarify, justify, defend. It's as if a small fortress stands just behind your eyes, and whenever the winds of life blow, soldiers rush to the wall, arrows ready, banners raised. Yet life isn't an army laying siege to you. Life is the very ground on which the fortress stands, the air in its courtyards, the birds that nest upon its ramparts. What you fear as an invasion is often the breeze that would freshen your rooms if only you'd open the shutters. Consider this. You are not the portrait you have been retouching for years. You are the painter, the canvas, the room, the light streaming in from the window, the dust dancing in the beam. When you defend a portrait, you become its prisoner, obliged to repaint the same smile, the same angle, the same flattering light, even when the day outside has changed into a glorious storm. In defending your idea of yourself, you refuse the wildness of what you are, a wave of the ocean that cannot be separated from the sea, a note that cannot be separated from the song, a flame that cannot be separated from the fire. Your defenses carve out a little metal box and place the flame inside. The flame survives, but it no longer illuminates the room. The great mischief is that you imagine your defended self will finally secure you, give you a comfortable identity, a predictable narrative, a place among the careful rows of labels. And perhaps it does for a time. But listen closely to the quiet hours when nothing must be done. There is a soft tapping from within the box, a knocking that says, "Is this all?" That knocking is not the world demanding something from you. It is life within you asking to be let out, asking not for more security but for more reality. The self you defend keeps you from yourself because it persuades you to love a reflection rather than the water, a map rather than the territory, a story about the dance rather than the dance itself. So let us begin there, at the door you have been guarding, not to break it down, to notice it, to feel the hinges, to understand what precisely you fear will happen if it swings open, and to discover, gently, curiously, that beyond your defended self you do not disappear, you arrive. To see how the defended self is built, watch a child playing in a tide pool. There is complete involvement, hands in the water, seaweed winding round the fingers, little fishes flashing away. No commentator whispers in the child's ear, "You are the sort of person who is good at tide pools," or "Be careful, if you fail, you won't be loved." The child is the tide pool. There is no gap between the seeing and the seen, the hearing and the heard. But we grow, we learn, and we are taught to carve out a certain figure from the flow of experience. We are given names, roles, expectations, and slowly we assemble a puzzle called me, which we affix to our forehead and take as our true face. This puzzle is useful for practical living, addresses, appointments, signatures, but we forget the game and begin to believe the cardboard mask is our skin. Then comes the fatigue, the constant arranging of expressions, the careful calibration of opinions, the avoidance of any situation that might reveal a crack in the mask. Like a dancer who only performs when certain lights are set, you start to retreat from the unlit corners of the stage, lest the audience see you not as composed geometry, but as breath, sweat, trembling, life itself. Yet the whole theater was built for breath, sweat, trembling. The audience came for that. Defensiveness is a contraction within consciousness. It is a flinch against immediacy, a move back from the living edge into the archive. Instead of meeting this moment, you reach for previous verdicts. I am clever. I am not enough. I must prove. I must hide. Each verdict becomes a guard at the door. But guards, even when they protect, also prevent the guests from entering. And some of those guests are your own undiscovered capacities, risk, creativity, admitting wrong, a laugh that doesn't ask permission. Imagine your sense of I as a river. When you defend it too tightly, by insisting, "I am this, not that," you force the water into a narrow channel. The stream shoots forward, yes, but it loses its eddies, its sparkles, its secret coves. Ducks cannot land, children cannot paddle, reeds don't whisper. In the name of speed and certainty, the river forgets its play. Yet the essence of water is to shape itself to what is, not to bully the landscape into a single groove. Your being, like water, is happiest when it has room to meander. But you say, if I do not defend myself, won't I be crushed, ignored, taken advantage of? This is the subtle confusion that has kept humanity pantomiming behind armor for centuries. To drop the defenses is not to lose discernment. A flexible tree bends in the wind. It does not invite the axe. The openness I speak of is not gullibility. It is the courage to meet life without the pretense of a scripted identity. You can be clear, say no, draw boundaries, and still fuse to make a religion of your own image. Real strength is not rigidness. It is the resilience that comes from being rooted in something deeper than your performance. Think of a mirror. The mirror takes on every reflection without clinging. It shows a king and a beggar with the same clarity, yet afterward remains unstained by both. Your true nature is this mirror, but you were taught to be the reflection instead, to latch onto a particular image and defend it against rivals. The cost is perpetual anxiety. If the image is threatened, so are you. If the image fades with age, success, failure, or the plain uncertainty of tomorrow, you panic because you mistook the costume for the actor. When you remember that you are the mirror, capable of holding any image and releasing it, you recover the audacity of presence. Let us use another picture. The mind, when it defends, is like a man gripping a rope tied to a cloud. He believes the cloud will float away unless he holds tight. He believes, too, that the rope gives him control over the sky. The cloud drifts in any case, and the rope burns his hands. What would happen if he let go? The sky would go on being the sky, his hands would heal, and he might notice for the first time that the ground beneath his feet is home. You may ask, if the defended self is a mask, what is the face? Not an object or a description, not a static noun. The face is activity, seeing, hearing, breathing, wondering. The face is the spontaneous flowering of awareness that this moment carries in its own hands. It is not in front of life, trying to improve it or justify it. It is the intimacy of life with itself. When you are that intimacy, you do not require defense, because there is no gap between you and what is happening that could be attacked. Attack requires distance. Fear requires a watcher separate from the watched. When the watcher and the what should dissolve into the simple light of attention, what remains is participation, not performance. How then to live with less defense without becoming a doormat? Begin where you are, not with a resolution to be saintly, but with curiosity about your own tightening. Curiosity is the oil on the hinge. The next time someone questions you, notice the first flicker of heat in the chest, the lift of the shoulders, the impulse to compose a defense. Instead of obeying that impulse, pause. Feel the heat. Feel the breath holding itself. Ask inside, what am I protecting right now? Not to criticize the protector, but to see it clearly. Often you will find that you are guarding an image, a memory of how you sounded clever last time, an idea of how you should appear today. Bring a little friendliness to that moment, as if you were meeting a nervous animal in the woods. Let it sniff your hand. You will find that defensiveness, when met with attention, softens. Practice listening as if you had nothing to prove and nothing to lose. This is not easy at first because we have rehearsed the opposite for years, but you can treat listening as a meditation. While the other speaks, track the micro-defenses, the urge to interrupt, to correct, to outshine, to retreat. Feel them in the body, their temperature and texture, while letting the words arrive like rain on a lake. When the rain stops, the lake does not explain itself. It simply reflects the sky. To answer from that clarity is different from answering from the animal at the gate with its hackles raised. One is contact, the other is preemptive war. Develop the craft of saying, I don't know, without shame. The defended self hates that phrase because it punctures the myth of constant competence. But I don't know is a doorway. Through it, life can teach you. Through it, others can meet you, not the actor auditioning for their approval. You will discover that people relax around sincerity. They become larger, kinder, more present. Vulnerability, rightly understood, is not a tactic. It is the end of tactics. Look at your daily rituals and reduce the amount of time you spend polishing the mask. Dress as you like, but choose at least one situation each day where you let an unpolished sentence escape your lips, where you allow a silence to be unfilled, where you send a message without fixing every edge. This is not sloppiness. It is training the nervous system to trust immediacy. You are weaning yourself from the drug of approval. Like any detox, there will be cravings. Breathe. Feel the space behind the eyes, the weight of the body on the chair, the hum of the world continuing without your management. This is the ground that does not move when the opinions do. When you make a mistake, and you will, practice bowing inwardly to the mistake as a teacher. Notice the reflex to explain. Notice the story assembling. I was tired. You misunderstood. It's because... Let the story pass through like a gust through an open window. Then speak simply. I see it. I'm sorry. That is not defeat. That is alignment. The river returning to its bed. Bring play back into your relationships. The defended self treats love as a contract between two idealized images. But love is a game of improvisation. Let your loved ones surprise you. Risk surprising them. Laughter is the sound a defense makes when it dissolves. Make a habit of going first. First to forgive, first to admit fear, first to be delighted. The more you go first, the more others remember they also know the steps to this dance. And let us talk about solitude, not the loneliness of a locked room, but the spacious aloneness out of which real companionship becomes possible. Sit quietly each day without an agenda. Feel the breath as if it were the tide. Forget techniques. Techniques are fine, but you are not a project. You are an unfolding. In that quiet, you will notice the defended self peeking round the door. Wanting to schedule your stillness, grade it, compare it, smile at the fuss. Your awareness is older than the fuss. Stay for a few minutes after the mind insists you rise. Those few minutes are where the old gear teeth wear new grooves. Gradually you will discover a new kind of confidence. Not the confidence of a resume, but the confidence of a tree that knows how to be a tree. It does not defend its tree-ness. It simply drinks light. When storms come, it leans. When birds need a place to sing, it offers branches without a marketing plan. In you, this tree confidence looks like presence. People will feel it before they can name it. You don't glitter, you glow. You don't persuade, you are. And from that being, action flows, often swift, sometimes fierce, always clean. What transforms when the defense is thin is not that you become someone else, but that you become less someone and more life itself, a clarity that can take any form. This is the essence of freedom. You are no longer imprisoned by your own description. You can be tender when tenderness appears, firm when firmness appears, quiet when quiet is truthful, loud when laughter erupts. You do not postpone your aliveness to match a brochure called Who I Ought to Be. And because your identity is not balanced on a knife edge, the world grows safer. Not because it has changed, but because the part of you that was always terrified has been given something better to do than guard the gate. It has been invited to step inside and feast. The human condition, then, is not a tragedy, but a comedy of mistaken identity. We peer through a keyhole and imagine the keyhole to be our home. We wander a museum of our own portraits and mourn that life is two-dimensional. But when the door swings open, you do not find a better portrait. You find sky. You find wind on your tongue and the meticulous noise of morning, the kettle, the sparrow, the neighbor's footsteps on the stairs. Spiritual freedom is immediate, not because it grants you special powers, but because it removes the requirement. And to be special, you are allowed to be exact. The taste of tea, the ache in the shoulders, the strange tenderness of being this one just now. In that exactness, the whole universe recognizes itself. Let go of the idea that letting go of the ego is another achievement to display. That, too, is a defense, a spiritual mask. You cannot defeat a shadow with a sword of light. You defeat it by turning around and noticing that it is your own outline. Ego is not an enemy to be slain. It is a clever strategy that once kept you safe. Thank it. Retire it from military service. Give it a garden to tend. The moment you stop making war on yourself, you stop making war on others, because others are the mirrors in which you have been fighting your own reflection. As you move through the day, practice 3 small gestures. First, soften the belly when you notice tension. A soft belly brings the mind down from its lonely turret and returns it to the village of the body. Second, feel your feet when you are afraid. Fear, when not shunned, ripens into alertness. Alertness sees clearly. Third, look for places to say yes where before there was only a guarded maybe. Not reckless yeses, alive ones. You will know them by the warmth in the chest and the widening of the room. These gestures are not impressive, that is the point. They train you to love the ordinary, which is where the extraordinary hides. We end as we began, at the door. The self you defend keeps you from yourself. The self you discover when you stop defending is not a self at all, but a field, like a meadow, where light and wind play their endless game. Sit there a moment now. Feel the shoulders lower by an inch. Listen to the hum behind the sounds. The meadow does not ask why the wind changes. It simply offers grasses that know how to sing. If you must carry something from this, carry a question that is not demanding but inviting. What am I protecting right now? Carry it lightly, like a pebble in your pocket, a reminder that the palace of being is open already and you have been walking its halls in a helmet. When the moment arrives that would normally trigger your defense, touch the pebble and let the helmet tilt back so you can finally see the room you are in, the faces, the colors, the space. And now, a brief meditation to settle the words into silence. Close your eyes if you like. Feel the breath arrive as if from a great distance, and leave as if it were telling a story to the horizon. Let thoughts come like birds landing on a branch. Feel the branch accept their weight and let them lift away. Sense the whole body as a single gesture, like a bow drawn back, poised yet unforced. In this poise there is nothing to defend, because there is nothing outside this moment that can judge it. The mirror is clear, the river is wide. The flame is free of the box, and discovering how rooms look when lit from within. When you open your eyes, do so as if opening them for the first time today. Notice one thing you would have missed behind the visor of your defenses, the way the light pools on the floor, the tired nobility of a scuffed shoe, the living pulse in your own hands. Carry that noticing with you as a companion. Let it interrupt your rehearsals and invite you to improvise. And if later a critic appears on the street, in your inbox, in your head, offer them tea, sit them at the window, show them the tide pool. Then join the child in the water. The waves were never your enemy, they were your language. And now you remember how to speak.